And away we go. It's the DFS Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com. Dan Strafford and half of Josh Engelman with you. Oh, when he moves. Here on the DFS Early Bird, ready to get you started on your research for a 9-game NBA slate on Wednesday, November 6th. Josh, how the hell are you doing?
I'm pretty good now that I keep disappearing, at least from the neck. I guess if I put my hood up, this will be...
Green screens are amazing things, folks.
They are pretty fun.
Like if you want hours of entertainment, get a Zoom account, a green screen.
Yeah,
we get to go, and some very good things to smoke. Probably, if we're being quite honest. So,
that'll help. It certainly won't hurt.
That will not hurt the process. And we are presented, now that I say that, in part by Yahoo DFS. Don't forget, check out their offerings for all things daily fantasy. Obviously, they have a ton of NFL content. It was the $1 Million Baller to start the year. That is dwindled a bit, but still a tournament you can get in, and less sharks, less to do over there when it comes to the pros. So if you want to build that bankroll, always recommend a site like Yahoo to get yourself started to understand. Remember, pricing is different and scoring is different. You want to do all that research. You want to know each site differently and understand how lineup construction varies from each. We have tons of Yahoo-specific content available at Awesemo.com as well. 9-game NBA slate. It looks like it will be a good one because you know why? Kawhi Leonard's on load management. Who doesn't like that in the NBA? So we get to talk about that a bit, but we'll start at point guard. We'll make our way through to center, as we always do. And we'll talk about each position, talk about some of the top plays, and I'll point you to some of the great content we have over at Awesemo.com each and every day. You want to be a member, you should be. Early Bird will get you 50% off your first month. I will also advise you, follow Awesemo_com, Awesemo NBA, Awesemo NFL. They're pumping out free subs pretty regularly, especially around the standalone Sunday and Monday night football games. So you'll want to check out tweets for those specifically. Josh, did I miss anything? I feel like I got everything out, right?
I think you hit everything.
All right. We'll hit that content calendar a little later on just so you understand what's coming your way on Wednesday and through the rest of the week. But for now, we can dive in to this slate. We get James Harden, Russell Westbrook back. He was out Monday for the Houston Rockets. Not surprisingly, Harden was a usage monster in that contest. We will see not so much the same here, but they've been staggering their minutes. Westbrook's been very good. Harden clearly has come on of late. Harden's 11-2, not the most expensive player on DK. We'll check out FanDuel and Yahoo pricing in a little bit. You got Doncic at 9.8, Westbrook at 9.4, Trae Young, who now has no John Collins because of some sort of human growth hormone injection that he's appealing the suspension. Kyle Lowry, D'Angelo Russell may be back. They're saying this is a point of an ankle injury and also tanking at this point, so why bring Russell back quickly? And then we go from there. Top end, quick take here. Harden's price tag is rising. Westbrook at 9,400, still holding firm. Golden State doesn't have much talent. Do you consider blowouts when considering your projections? Do you tweak anything or ownership projections, I should say, when thinking about, well, this game could be over pretty quickly?
Generally speaking, absolutely not. In the case of Houston, I'm going to be more worried about it for the non-Harden Westbrook guys. If they blow out Golden State, one of those two guys did the blowing out. They're not getting there on the back of Daniel House and Eric Gordon only. So one of them was going to fill it up. I really like Westbrook at that price tag, 9,400. He's just going to push the ball at a crazy pace. And I would expect a team that is playing a bunch of guys that don't really play together all that much to not be able to communicate very well defensively. I think he's just going to pick up a ton of fast break points that they're just not ready for. And 9,400 is like super duper manageable in comparison to Harden being at 11-2.
And that's a price point to keep an eye on when it comes to ownership too. Does everybody else go to 9,400 Westbrook, and does Harden get left in the dust because of it? We have Giannis at 11.7. Obviously, Awesemo.com does have ownership projections that can help you understand GPP and cash game plays each and every day. Sometimes it's free. Most times it's not. So you'll want to check that out. Luka Doncic has been such a fun player to watch as he's come of age in the NBA over the past 2 seasons. He's 9,800. You get Trae Young, Kyle Lowry. Young should have massive usage. He had a pretty good night in limited minutes on Tuesday night. See, I got that right. And then we have the likes of Brogdon, Mitchell, Simmons, De'Aaron Fox, Zach LaVine, Morant's here, Mike Conley. There's enough talent at point guard to pretty much go through the entirety of the position at different price points and find guys that you could at least justify playing, right? Who are some of the guys, names, your projections like earlier, guys that you feel like you're going to be looking at pretty heavily when Wednesday slate rolls around?
It's tough. A lot of rough defensive matchups. Like, it's hard to like Doncic against Orlando. Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons, both getting two good defensive matchups against each other. You know, Utah and Philly, some of the best defenses in the league. De'Aaron Fox gets Toronto. That's tricky. John Morant's just young. RJ Barrett, I guess, is probably in a decent spot at 6,700. This will probably be the game that Mike Conley's good now that they finally get like a really difficult defensive matchup, because he has been putrid for the entire season at this point. There's not a lot going on in the mid-range that makes me terribly excited. Kai Bowman is up to 5,900 on DK. That's going to be a tough sell, even if he is playing 36, 38 minutes, whatever that ends up being. Point guard's tough.
There's a lot to go around when it comes to minutes and talent, but I think I agree with you that some of the matchups aren't in our best interest. But you get to situations like a Kai Bowman when minutes are increasing, price point is increased as well. You have a Bembry for Atlanta on the other side of that matchup. Thomas Satoransky had a pretty solid night on Tuesday night. His price point is still down enough. I think it at least gives you flexibility. You may not love every matchup at point guard. You may not love some of the high-end guys, but point guard's always going to give you sort of depth of the position, and I think gives you some ability to make some decisions across different positions, go cheap here potentially. You do still have Josh Richardson on the cheap end of the pool. Depends on how you view the rotations for the Philadelphia 76ers. I guess Utah's not a good matchup. Strike that. I'll go back to, I think Satoransky and Bembry are going to be part of my research at some point on Wednesday. And I'll say this, RJ Barrett is playing way too many minutes. Don't get me wrong. He's young. He wants to be out there. He's learning a ton. I think he's fifth most minutes per game in the NBA to start the season, up around 37.8, if I remember reading that earlier on Tuesday. That's a massive amount of minutes. We're still in November, though. Come February, come January, where that rookie wall hits, it's going to hit him hard. He's going to probably hit and be bad for a long time. But he's the sort of guy, the thing I talked to Lofty about last week, not only is he driving, like he's hitting the lane, he's going to the hoop, he's chasing his own misses. He's crashing the boards, which is like a young Westbrook, a young Carmelo Anthony. That's what those guys did so well when they first got into the NBA. They made an impact early that, yes, they were scorers, but they did the little things too. And from a DFS perspective, those extra box score moments, the rebounds, the steals, the blocks, the assists, all are going to help a guy like RJ Barrett. So I'm with you there. I will say, I think for me, Westbrook makes the most sense here. Yeah. Ownership will matter a lot.
It's going to matter a ton. I would expect him to get a ton of it, just because I think he stands out very easily when you look at it. But maybe we'll get lucky because it's a 9-game slate and it won't be as ridiculous. By the way, Alec Burks is 4K. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he has like a decent scoring day for Golden State, especially against Houston. I'm just scrolling through point guard now.
I think that is, I have not looked yet at what Vegas thinks of that game. I was guessing it was probably...
It's got to be a real big number.
Do we think it's double digits?
Oh, I'd bet my life on it, I think.
The lines were close to start. No line that I see as of yet. I don't know if on where you look, you have anything as of yet.
Toronto is 8.5-point favorites at home against Sacramento. So I can't imagine that the gap between Toronto and Sacramento is not like the gap between Houston and Golden State has to be so much bigger, assuming Russell's not playing.
Yeah, Warriors on the road. Yeah, so 12.5 to 13. 13.5 is probably a legitimate starting point for that line.
Yeah, and then, pretty big total as well.
All right, so point guard gives us a lot. There are some decisions to be made at the top end. Shooting guard, we get Harden here as well, and Doncic as well. So you can play around on DK, obviously. After shooting guard, we'll take a look at FanDuel. Then after power forward, we'll take a look at Yahoo overall. So it's sort of looking at the prices. We're going to go through positions here using DK prices, but talk specifically about overall pricing on those sites at each of those stopgaps throughout here. So Brad Beal is 8,600, gets a matchup with the Pacers. He and I are buds. That's why I go with Brad Beal instead of Brad.
Okay. I thought so.
You have Brogdon, Mitchell, Levine, all the same names that we mentioned. Then you have the shooting guard, small forward guys eligible over there. Obviously, we're not building a lineup right now. We haven't seen the rest of the positions. Do you make consideration for Harden at shooting guard over point guard? Like, is there a difference for you there depending on what the rest of the position looks like?
It's not something that I pay close attention to. Honestly, it's wherever the lovely fantasy cruncher puts him when the lineup is generated.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. And where he fits best, right?
Yeah.
And it's
and
all
depending what time the game starts.
Well, that's fair. And that's not, I think there's still people out there who don't build optimal lineups in that way. Like when you think of late swap and how to do that properly, I think there are still people out there who are using their utility completely wrong. So that
game starts at 7:30. Harden is much more likely to be in the point guard, shooting guard spot than my guard or utility spots. It basically won't be in the utility spot.
Yeah, makes total sense. Let's continue on here at shooting guard, where we do have the likes of Brogdon and Mitchell. Brogdon does have a matchup against Washington. We've seen his usage go up. We've seen his skill set go up, but maybe it was just the fact that with the Bucks, you had Giannis and you had Middleton and you had all these different guys on the ball. Brogdon now gets to flourish with the Pacers a bit. Middleton, as I mentioned, is against the Clippers. You don't have Kawhi there, so not as good a defensive lineup, obviously, for Los Angeles as well. And then we get into the mid-tier, and you talk about Buddy Hields and Lou Williams. Luke Kennard gets the Knicks. Brown is down here as well for Detroit. He's had a decent run over the past two games, 40 and 37 minutes respectively. This is with the injuries to Reggie Jackson and all the different guards. Derrick Rose for Detroit. His price point has come from 3,100, 31, 3,200, all the way up to 5,300 here against the Knicks. Thoughts on mid-tier when it comes to shooting guard?
I do want to point somebody out that I guess I just totally missed on. Malcolm Brogdon is 8,100 tomorrow against Washington. That should be a big-time pace game. He was 8,200 today against Charlotte. Yep. I see this as just as quality of a matchup. He's been a very different player for Indiana. He projected very well for me here yesterday. Damn, close. I had like 25% of him last night. Now it sounds better, but that's a spot where at 8,100, I think that's a really, really easy place to go. I like that pairing with Westbrook as well, and you're saving quite a bit of money. As I work my way down in the shooting guard list, just trying to catch a name that like may or may not, like, I don't have a ton of interest in Chris Middleton. Andrew Wiggins should be okay, but he's Andrew Wiggins. I can't really trust him. That Sacramento-Toronto game is kind of scary. I think Bruce Brown's 5,300 now in comparison to 3,200 in the last one. Man, I thought it was higher than that. That's preposterous. Can't be doing that. Can't be playing Bruce Brown at 5,300 now.
People will.
Oh, yeah, they will.
What would you peg? What would you peg
okay
there? What would you peg? It's a Knicks matchup. The Knicks have struggled. He's had obviously back-to-back games, 35-plus minutes, and I'd say he's in the teens at least ownership-wise, right?
Let me look. I
know it's a 9-game
slate for yesterday.
So. I know it's a 9-gamer, but I feel like recency bias, box score surfing, and matchup, you're going to get him, I would say 17 to 19%.
All right, so Alex had him projected for 31 fantasy points.
Okay.
On this is just what I have in front of me, on FanDuel 2 days ago. So at 31, if you're looking at 5x and 10 on what's the price tag? 53. So that's what, 26. So you're looking for 36. Yeah, that's still going to be a pretty solid value. You're not going to be mad to have him. Especially because he's shooting guard, small forward. So you're able to put him in both of those spots, right. Obviously, guard, forward, and utility is arguably the most valuable designation you can have on DraftKings. So, yeah, I think he's actually still going to be viable because the Knicks stink.
It's such a shame. I mean, who could have seen this coming when you signed 15 power forwards in the offseason? Like, come on. And one of them was Taj Gibson. But anyway.
At least he's keeping the culture alive when
Right.
you can go
Exactly right.
50 and I don't know. I got the numbers mixed up. So I was
15
going to
and
say
67?
32 and 50, and then I was like, that's still not even that bad.
Yeah, 15 and 67. Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, 82. Right. That's there.
Yeah.
We're there. We're
It's late,
mathematicians.
man. 9:59. I don't do the same math. If you want to ask me all sorts of how to add up to 82 questions at like 6:00 tomorrow morning, man,
My
pretty
6-year-old
good.
is smart. I mean, all my kids are going to be smart, much smarter than I am. But she will constantly ask me, "Daddy, ask me math questions." I really don't want to. So I
You're
did
better at this.
this morning. I was like, I just wrote a whole sheet of them because they had off for election day because their school is used for elections.
Nice.
So I like wrote an entire sheet. I said, this should be the day. Like, this is all you need. She was through 3/4 of it in about 15 minutes. Son of a.
I mean, that's
I made
good to be doing
intentionally the
that.
last 4 really hard, but like
Quadratic equations and stuff.
I was like, all right, if a train leaves Chicago going 500 miles per hour,
15 minutes. What?
exactly. Damn it. All right, let's move on to small forward. Well, any punts? I know that's tough here and now. Any injuries? I guess Russell's status could play a little bit for Golden State, right? I know there are a ton of bodies out there who could get run.
Eric Gordon's questionable. If he is out, you'd have to think that Austin Rivers becomes interesting. I don't think he's a shooting guard. He might be point guard, small forward. No, point guard, shooting guard. Cool. Austin Rivers is viable if Eric Gordon's out.
Eric Gordon, it says hamstring soreness, but I think it's just pride soreness because he's been really bad to start this season. But
he has been a steaming pile so far.
It's impressive how bad he's been, to be quite honest. All right, so that's a good one to keep an eye on. Again, I will remind you now, and we're going to take a look at FanDuel pricing quickly here just to get an idea of where Josh's head is at. We have a ton of free stuff available to anyone who is listening to this podcast. That's all over on YouTube and in front of the paywall at awesemo.com. You can see the difference on our website between the free and the premium content with that little A+, Awesemo Plus, next to the premium content. But a lot of it's available for you for free. You subscribers, you get the projections, you get the deep dive behind the paywall, you get ownership projections, you get the Fantasy Country add-on as a potential add-on for you. I will say in front of the paywall, best shows bar none in DFS. Sue me, I don't really care. It's the NBA DFS strategy show in the morning, and then you get the deeper dive, you get live before lock. You get Alex behind the paywall, talking his strategy. Listen, call me a shill, whatever it is. Alex has been the number one DFS player. Well, not claimed on Twitter, but by the statistics for the past couple of years. He breaks it down. He sits there and talks to you about how he's doing strategy. Is that going to make you win on any given slate? Maybe not. But he is giving you insight into how he's preparing for each slate. That's behind the paywall. And then we have the shows in front. So I think what the folks over at awesemo.com, us here, are doing with the free and the premium content is the way to go. And I think it's good for everybody. So if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. Love that. But hit that alarm bell so you don't miss, right? So when we go live, you are there ready to watch. Let's take a quick look at FanDuel, just overall pricing here to get a sense of Giannis is 12, James Harden 11.5, Andre Drummond 11.4, Cat is back, and he is 11.1, Luka 11K, Embiid 10.4, Westbrook 10.3, Trae Young 9,700. So just to get a sense of your top end thought process here, I want to ask you 2 questions. One, Harden and Westbrook, are they far enough apart at 11.5 and 10.3 to consider Westbrook as the better play? And I will obviously recognize point guard versus shooting guard and position eligibility comes into overall roster construction. But looking at this right off the bat, do you feel the same way you feel about DraftKings, or do you see them as maybe closer in potential upside because of the price points?
I'm more likely to get to Harden on FanDuel than I am to Russ at point guard, just because you still have Luka there. You've got Trae Young right under Russ. You've got Brogdon at 9K. You've got Ben Simmons at 8,800. Kyle Lowry, depending on how you feel about him. Point guard's pretty loaded up at the top, whereas shooting guard, you're taking a pretty big step down after Harden. maybe D'Angelo Russell, who's obviously going to look fantastic if he's able to be on the floor, but I still don't even know if I want to pay $9K for him. And then you're just scrolling. Bradley Beal sits there at 8,900. Not really loving it against Indiana. Donovan Mitchell against Philly, not all that appealing at 8,400. So I think it's easier to get to Harden from opportunity cost standpoint.
We move on to small forward here. And again, we have tons of content available for FanDuel. We have a Slack chat also. There are some Yahoos in there, but they're nice Yahoos. So you can, and I don't mean Yahoo DFS. I mean crazy people, but that's fine.
Great
Love
sponsor.
you guys. Love you guys. But and love Yahoo too. But I will say it's also a conversation all day long. I think most sites offer this now, some sort of chat. But I think what you get with Osmo Chat is one, the great analysts and touts, if you want to call them that, chiming in when they have an opportunity, but also the community that's been built up there in conversation each and every day. Small forward, we get to talk about Giannis now. Kawhi Leonard's out. Paul George obviously out for the foreseeable future for the Clippers as well. Ben Simmons is 7,700. So when you talk about price differential, you go from 11,700 for Giannis to 7,700 for Ben Simmons. That's a stark gap where Giannis is far and away your most expensive play here and sort of gives you pause on how you're building lineups. Jabari Parker is 6,700. I point him out again because of the John Collins situation. He's going to be playing a lot. And then you have Eric Paschall, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, who went absolutely nuts for the Golden State Warriors in their win over the Portland Trailblazers. His price tag is up to 6,500 on DraftKings. Bless them all. Good, let them have this season that will be remembered for years as how the Warriors got a top 5 draft pick and paired it with Steph and Clay moving forward. But what do you like at small forward? Anybody stand out, and how would you approach the position at first glance?
I'll tell you what, Giannis does not stand out at 11-7. Nope. That's going to be real tricky to get to against the Clippers. Certainly better that there is no Kawhi Leonard, no Paul George, but that's just a really tough sell against a good team at that price. No real interest in Simmons. Jeremy Lamb is going to be interesting for me. Again, dual designation, 6,900. You get Washington. He's been good enough. Parker's price is climbing. What was he today? He was 5 something. He was 5 flat actually on DraftKings today. You got exactly what you were looking for out of him. I think he went for like 31, 32.
Yep. 32 and a half.
There you go. Look at that. This is a really tricky spot. Like, I don't know what to do with someone like Eric Paschall. I don't know if I'm saying that right either, because he's going to play a ton of minutes, but he's like the 57th pick in the draft or something last year. He's not supposed to be any good, at least not in that kind of way.
I mean, better than me, at least.
But better than both of us, for sure. Right. So it's just really hard to calibrate those guys because the range of outcomes is just incredibly big.
And they have no reason to care. 41st overall, Josh. 41st.
Sure. They have no reason to care.
Paschall. Like, we're right. We're good.
If he's not playing well, they just go to the next guy. They're all the same, not real people. Yeah. What's the from Succession? No real person involved. If it's not going well, you just get a different one.
That's so good. Hey, you at the end of the bench. I don't know your name, but get in there.
I have trouble doing their minutes because I can't remember what position some of these guys play. And then you look at Eric Paschall, and it's just like, oh, okay. I have him in the shooting guard. Oh, wait, no, he plays like a power forward, but he's 6'6". It's
right.
Like a bowling ball.
That's like every power forward on any Rutgers team in the 90s. He was like 6'3" and 300 pounds. It's like, that's not how NBA, the college ranks should work, guys.
I was like, well, who brought DeJuan Blair back?
Oh, man, that is a good name. That's a nice pull. Anybody else at small forward worth our second glance?
Apparently TJ Warren after today.
Why after today? Did I miss something with TJ Warren?
I think he's having a pretty good night.
Oh, is he?
I could be wrong. Maybe ignore me.
No.
I saw his name up there today in the leaders.
TJ Warren, 33 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. All right.
Yeah. Went for 49.3 on FanDuel. He is the 5th highest scorer right now. I think that game went to OT, though.
Warren went for 26. So he's had very solid back-to-back games against the Bulls and now against the Who's this against the Hornets? Yes, it did go to OT. Charlotte winning 122-120. Devontae Graham having a huge game there for the Hornets. TJ Warren's price point makes sense.
Depends on
5,800.
Sabonis and Turner.
Yep. Well, and I think you make that point, and we should hammer that home. Obviously, a lot of what we talk about here from the lower end of the player pool is predicated on availability and minutes and opportunity, not availability. Opportunity is what I meant to say there. So you want to see some upside from some of these guys, and that means minutes and usage could be there. I'll point out Brown is small forward eligible here as well for Detroit, as Josh pointed out over at shooting guard. Scrolling through,
OG at 5,200. He's been playing a little different, at least this season.
How would you describe his game? It's a little different.
He's shooting more than I would have ever expected. Right. Knocking down threes. I mean, he made 50% of his threes in his first 5 games, or most recent 5 games. So not really shooting a lot of volume, but I guess that's viable. I'm sure Sacramento's going to push the pace. I would guess they rank pretty highly in turnovers, just given the makeup of their team. I'm going to look that up now so I don't just talk out of my bum.
No, well, I mean, so many people do anyway. But we'll roll to power forward as you look that up. You do have Kawhi, Paul George obviously out again, to reiterate there. Blake Griffin, Draymond Green out. We know that. Sabonis was out definitely Tuesday. He has a calf bruise. It could be a questionable tag heading into Wednesdays. That obviously opens up, again, TJ Warren as a potential play. Do you have, I mentioned before, I'm a Knicks fan. Do you have any consideration for the Randalls, Portis's, maybe not Taj Gibson, Kevin Knox of the world? Or is this a similar rotation where you have no idea where the hell it's going and simply stay away?
I mean, Randall should be the safest guy. 6,800 for him is probably too low. He should get some minutes against not Drummond, maybe. I mean, right? Who do they put Drummond on? Bobby Portis?
Maybe.
Mitchell Robinson? So then Randall's getting who? Markieff Morris? He's going to eat Markieff Morris. He's going to eat Markieff Morris.
Markieff's my man. Yeah, I think that's right, matchup-wise.
No, Marcus Morris. Why am I saying Markieff Morris?
No, Markieff is on Detroit.
New York.
Yeah, it's Morris v. Morris.
It is. I knew that there were too many Morrises in
Glory
my brain
be.
for this.
Praise be. It's Morris night.
Yeah, no, he's going to eat Markieff. I like Randall tomorrow night. I like, Thomas Bryant's not too shabby against Indiana if both guys are out as well.
All right, Markieff Morris, 3,800 on this slate. He's played 14 minutes last time out against his former team, the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, I played way more than his minutes.
Marcus Morris is at 5,900, power forward, small forward eligible. He's really had those 2 back-to-back games, huh?
Yeah.
39 minutes, 35 minutes, 50 DraftKings, 42 DraftKings points. Well, it's not so bad. Little brotherly bad blood here could make for some fun NBA action. I don't know DFS-wise if Marcus Morris will be on anyone's real radar here, but he is cheap.
Up $1,000.
Well, 2 games like that and probably higher ownership. We'll do that. Let's see what else we have. Rashawn Holmes has had some ownership of late, has been playing bigger minutes, 30, 35, did have a 20-minute outing, not surprisingly, against Utah, not the greatest matchup. He's here against Toronto. This is going to be a name that I completely butcher. Can you guess who I'm going to here?
Rui?
Yep. Exactly.
Rui Hachimura?
Yeah. Hachimura, is that what it is? Rui
yes.
Hachimura. All right,
yes.
That works. Are you buying in? Is this a guy who gives you enough, or is the price tag prohibitive?
Okay, so I get caught up talking about guys like him because I speak from a basketball standpoint, which is not necessarily the same as the DFS standpoint. I don't think that he is very good. I didn't think that Washington should have drafted him. I thought he was an overdraft and that he was certainly not going to be particularly good in the NBA. With that said, if he's getting minutes, it's a completely different story. Now, he played 16 and 22 in the last 2 games, and he's still at 5,500. If any sort of minutes like that continues, then you should not be playing Rui Hachimura at all. if he's playing 36 or 38 or 35 like he was in the games previous to that, which, now that Troy Brown is back, I think they've got a couple more bodies out on the wing.
Yep.
I don't get the sense that he's going to get that many minutes. I don't really get the sense that I would be having much Rui, barring any guys being out.
Anybody else here at power forward you want to throw into the mix?
Brandon Clark, I guess, has to be in play at 5K. Got the start in the last one. If we see that Triple J is out again, you have to kind of go to him or at least take a look at him. But he's still only getting like 20 minutes. They don't appear to be giving him a big chunk. He's not exactly healthy either, but he is a guy that I'll at least be paying a bit of attention to. I mean, Glenn Robinson, I guess. Jingles, I guess. Jay Crowder for 4,800. I mean, these guys aren't sexy plays, but I think that they're all viable. Goga, if those guys end up being out, power forward eligible 4,200, he is going to see the time. There's not a lot of value out there today.
I think hopefully, and I never mean this to sound like it is, hopefully we get some injuries. I'm not wishing injuries on anyone, but opening up some value is always fun. It's always fun also when value opens up and everybody rushes to it, even though they are not good NBA basketball players and aren't going to be playing a ton of minutes, because that opens up moving elsewhere for those who are paying attention. We've passed through power forward. Let's take a quick look over at our good friends at Yahoo DFS. Remember, pricing completely different here. Scoring, you can figure out some similarities to the other sites, but you want to be sure to fine-tune your projections and not try to just port over something from DK, port over something from FanDuel, as it were. So Harden is your most expensive at 5,600. Giannis 54, Karl-Anthony Towns at 53, Drummond at 50. Westbrook is $49. Joel Embiid, $47. Doncic, Trae Young, Bradley Beal down to $41. Anybody stand out here to you on the top end as mispriced or overpriced where you'd stay away? Guys that maybe you think differently than the other sites?
Luka, while the matchup isn't the best, I think $46 for him as a shooting guard is pretty interesting, given that he's $10 cheaper than James Harden and has averaged more fantasy points per game than James Harden to date.
Yep.
I don't hate Embiid for $47 either. I'm a little bit less worried about Rudy Gobert in a Joel Embiid matchup. I think Rudy Gobert negatively affects guys like Ben Simmons significantly more. These are guys that are coming to the rim where Gobert can mildly recover. I mean, you don't really want to be leaving Joel Embiid all that often, but Gobert is better, like neutralizing the rest of the team, not necessarily just playing one-on-one defense against someone. So it's possible Embiid gets slept on a little bit, as much as Joel Embiid could possibly get slept on. But those were the first two names that stood out to me when I looked at Yahoo.
I will say this about the question I have is there any beef between Embiid and Gobert? Like, is there headspace involved? This isn't like a Drummond.
So.
Okay.
I think it's like a
Whiteside
mutual
Gobert,
respect
right?
thing.
It was Hassan Whiteside and Gobert that had the serious issues. The past
obviously Embiid and Drummond.
Well, yes, I mean that's the big one. That's fantastic. But I feel like Whiteside and Gobert had some sort of like weird Twitter beef that also involved French, like involved like Tony Parker at some point, and maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to look that up. If anyone's listening, let me know on Twitter at Dan Trafford. Of course, you can find Josh at Josh Engelman. You can find us in Slack chat as well. I'm randomly dropping terrible dad jokes in NBA Slack chat whenever I get a chance. Uncle DFS is one of my big fans, as he's told me on Twitter and on Slack. Not really, but
what up, Unc?
What up, Unc? What's up, nephews? When he comes into chat, good for you. He has a shtick. Everybody needs a shtick.
I mean, some people don't.
That's fair.
I can think of one in particular.
Oh, I want everyone in Slack chat to think it's them. Anyway, let's
everyone in Slack chat knows who I mean.
Yep. Oh, we all do. But nonetheless, it's they linger. They persist to use
cranberries.
Oh, amazing. Let's close it out by talking about some centers where clearly there's a ton of talent
Yeah.
Now, FanDuel stands out as you only play one. We all know that. DK, Yahoo, you have a little bit of flexibility with how you're doing roster construction, playing two centers with the utility spot, and clearly with power forward eligibility on a lot of these sites as well. You're going to get a mix of how you line up construct. But Drummond, Towns, and Embiid, 10-8 through 9-5. Pascal Siakam is 8K. Vucevic is at 7,900. Hasn't had that, big of a start to the year. Has shown flashes of having the upside we've known he has. Has a matchup here with Dallas. Gobert in the aforementioned matchup with Joel Embiid. And then you get into the likes of Valanciunas, Clint Capella, and Gasol, Brook Lopez, guys that have a pretty understandable floor, but not a huge upside and ceiling. What do you like? Do you go to Drummond here against the Knicks simply based on no one there to guard him? Or do you think the price point's too high in a situation where maybe Drummond doesn't have to do too much against this New York Knicks lineup?
I mean, I guess have we heard anything on Blake?
I have not heard anything on Blake, no.
I guess he's viable. What time is it? Let me look at this quick. NBA injury.
He's out Wednesday.
Official?
Out Wednesday. Yeah, Griffin hamstring is out Wednesday against the Knicks. Rod Beard of the Detroit News reports, and Rod Beard's a friend. He's been on Osmo videos in the past. So
yes. Then there you go. Yeah, and he is listed as out on the injury report. So there's that. We don't have to worry about that too much. If I'm looking at these guys, I'm going to Joel Embiid at 9,500. I think that's the wow, man. Well, Karl Anthony Towns should be able to do whatever he wants to Memphis because Jonas Valanciunas can't stop him.
Right.
So the question then is Towns v. Embiid in more than one way, I guess. Now, these guys both returning on the same slate. Embiid $500 cheaper. Towns obviously has been significantly better this season. You know what?
I would assume.
I think I would prefer Towns.
You would assume, though, also Cat has higher ownership here, right? Just simply like on name recognition and matchup and
yeah.
Right.
You're more likely to play Karl Anthony Towns in a cash game tomorrow. I think you should be more likely to play Joel Embiid in GPP, barring ridiculous ownership.
Right.
Towns is like 18, then I still like Towns more.
All right. That makes sense to me. I dig that a lot. Center gets kind of thin quickly. Center's been a position we've leaned on a lot over the past couple of years, has had a lot of talent, but you get into this mid-tier because of some injuries, because of some changes in designations and lineup construction, and you're dealing with the likes of Harrell and Valanciunas and Rashawn Holmes. Wendell Carter Jr. hasn't exactly been really dynamic to start the year. He started to string together a few outings where it seems to be coming together. He's not getting huge minutes for the Chicago Bulls of late. Is there anybody in the mid-tier that stands out as a guy that at least at first glance, hey, throw him into the player pool and maybe see how much a cruncher or an optimizer spits out? Or are you staying at the top end of the pool at first glance here at center?
I kind of like Lauri Markkanen. I mean, granted, he has power forward eligibility, but 6,400 against Atlanta. Atlanta's best front court player is just not going to be there. So that should be at least mildly more interesting for him. How has Atlanta been at giving up the three ball, since that is a little bit of his MO, shooting? See, this is the key for me. How often do they give up threes? Atlanta is 24th in the league giving up threes, 27th and above the break, which I think you'll get a little bit more of for Lauri Markkanen. So I think this is a decent spot for him at 6,400. After that, if we get any word that Joe Val can play more minutes, you start to be able to take a peek at him. Scrolling. If we get any, one of Bobby Portis or Mitchell Robinson is probably viable, both at 5K.
Yep.
Good luck figuring out which one it is, I guess.
If Maxi Kleber is out, do you release the Boban?
No.
I just wanted to talk about Boban. That's all.
It doesn't really matter who is going to be guarding someone on Orlando. Shouts to Nikola Vucevic for going, oh, wow, he just must have scored a bunch of points in the time that I just looked at it because his data was looking pretty putrid, but he's up to 10 and 10. But he was like a 20. No, what does he have right now? Did it just refresh? Now it's showing me 8-6. Now he's got 10-10. FanDuel's not helping me out here with the live scoring. Ultimately, he hasn't been great this year, so I don't think they need, like, he can stretch the floor, so I don't know if Boban's the guy for Dallas against that particular
Seeing
team.
10 and 10 for Vooch.
Yeah. Okay.
2 assists.
Yeah, great.
2 blocks.
I mean, I don't know. How many minutes does Dwayne Dedmon play? If he plays 27 like he did 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago or however many nights ago against Utah, then 3,900 is a bargain. If he plays 4 minutes or whatever he did, the night before that, then who the hell knows? I don't know what to do with those damn Kings centers. And then you've got, Amari Spellman, Marquise Chris. One of those days, those guys are going to play 60 minutes a game or something stupid. God, I hate the Warriors this year.
Oh, it's a train wreck, and it's going to continue to be, and they're going to play at a really high pace. They're going to play like the Hawks and the Nets of years past, and they're going to have nights where their worst players put up 45 DraftKings points, and they break slates. And that doesn't mean just because they're on the late slate of games they make a difference. You want the good matchups when building lineups. It's not that late games are more viable than early games, but that's a different story for a different time. Right. The big thing here is to remember, and why we're here is to give you a preview of the day, and we're doing it live. We're looking at the slate pretty much for the first time, do a little bit of research before we hop on the night before. But what we're trying to do is get your brain working so that when you come ready and attentive at around 9:15 each and every day to the NBA Strategy Show, you're ready to rock and roll, start seeing some projections on ownership, so start seeing some projections when it comes to points for per player action. You're ready to go. And then the articles come out throughout the day. Projections get updated. We have a live page for updates as well. That should be viable for each and every one of you to understand different things that members of Osmo are looking at. And then, of course, you have the live shows on YouTube, which are free. You should enjoy them. If you're not watching them yet, bookmark, like, subscribe, hit that alarm bell, and leave a comment here. We always do. I read every comment, and I know people tell me if throughout my now 20-year career in broadcasting, never read the comments. I read all the comments. They're fun now at this point in my career. I've read them all. I've seen them all, so it's quite all right at this point. I enjoy them, no matter where they come from and what they say. So bring them on in the comment section, and we are happy. I'm happy to read them. Josh may not be. He may look away, but I
don't read them.
I will. But nonetheless, find us at Osmo_com on Twitter. The same is available at Osmo.com. Obviously, our website, Osmo NBA, Osmo NFL. Remind you of that because of the free giveaways. Find Josh at Josh Engelman, at Dan Stratford for myself. And remember, each and every day we're available on all of the podcast apps as well as on YouTube with the DFS Early Bird presented by Osmo.com.